This video is sponsored by Totally Spy Cyber Mission. We all know I have a weakness for unicorns. I may not be a horse girl, but I sure am a unicorn girl. So, when I saw Unicorn Academy recommended to me by you guys, I couldn't say no. With all that classic bug-eyed and button-nosed art style that's becoming standard, this hip and stylish tween is Sophia. I just can't seem to escape Sophias on this channel now.
Why can't you ever do some non-dangerous, typical teenager stuff?
Friends are overrated. I'm more of a likably rebellious loner with a love of adventure that drives her mom nuts.
Ah, yes. In case you couldn't catch that, that was all code for how she's not like other girls. Didn't you love it when mystical items are dropped on your doorstep by fairies? It happens to me all the time, except the fairies are called Amazon, and it's always in a brown box. Sophia gets invited to a school for equestrian riders. Obviously, she's gung-ho about attending, and her mom isn't super stoked and says no.
This is a riding academy. This is my dream. Dad would want me to go. If he were here,
But he's not.
I know they're trying to make the mom look all mean and unforgiving, but like, do they teach your core curriculum at Unicorn Academy, or is it just horse riding? I'd say no too, seems sketchy.
Do you ever feel like there has to be more out there? Like there's something inside of you that's bursting to come out?
Girl, you're a teenager. That could be one of a multitude of things, some of which aren't appropriate for YouTube community guidelines. It doesn't take mom too long to change her mind and offer her child up to be kidnapped by the Fae. You either must really trust the Fae or really hate your daughter. Magical island of magic and wonder and rainbows and glitter.
My brain's about to explode. I thought I was going to a riding academy. We are pleased to invite you to attend Unicorn Academy?
That's false advertising. Can you sue magical academies or are they exempt? Here's Ava, the manic pixie dream girl of the show, just without the pixie cut.
And this is Unicorn Island. All the world's magic comes from here.
The biggest twist is that phones aren't allowed on campus. I feel like that would be a deal breaker with most kids. After COVID, they're all pretty much chronically online. They'd quicker offer up their leg instead of their phone. Oh, look, the mean girl, followed up by the nerdy, super smart trope. A character. They are not afraid to tackle all the stereotypes in a kid's show. Oh, and look, the boy character. A sporty character? There's already so many characters. Oh my goodness, you've got to be kidding me. They introduced the villain through an instruction book. I'm actually disappointed. Whatever happened to show, don't tell?
It's time.
Well. How lovely.
Is it mandatory for these animators to make all the female villains insanely hot? If she walked up to me and asked me to join her side, I don't think I'd hesitate. Main character doesn't get any unicorn. She gets the only unicorn with a rainbow mane and golden hooves. And it's got a Charizard complex because it refuses to listen to Sophia until she says her name, and suddenly, yeah, this was her dad's unicorn, obviously.
Care to explain this, Ms. Mendoza?
Huh?
You were specifically instructed to not cross the Shimmerstone Wall, and this is grounds for dismissal.
Wow, guys, great show, very compelling. Can't wait for season 2. Anyway, that's the end of the video.
That's my dad.
Yup, turns out her dad was the one who stopped the big bad villain girl once upon a time.
The unicorn I matched with.
Was your father's unicorn. Her name is Wildstar.
I'm sorry. The name feels like it's first draft material. Like if you wanted something to sound really cool to little kids, that would sound incredibly cool to little kids. Great job, guys. No joke, a trick I use in order to see if a name sounds cool is you just shout it. You shout it like a superhero, or like how Robin from Teen Titans, if you shout it and it doesn't pack a punch, it's probably not a great name. Wildstar! Yeah, that sounded pretty good. I think that's a good name, yeah. Every unicorn has its own special magic power, and it's up to the writers to unlock the magical potential from their unicorn. First impression of this show is very much, you know how if a cartoon needs to have an in-universe cartoon, they'll make it incredibly derivative and ham up the stereotypes to get the point across? I feel like this show does that. It's that, and is just trying to be unapologetically fun. Don't worry about taking yourself too seriously or doing something unique. Do what we know everyone loves and just go for it. It's a show about unicorns. It's a Hogwarts for unicorns. I feel like this is just a smart direction. Get out of your own head and just write a fun show.
She probably hurt when she lost your dad, too. And maybe she's being extra protective of you because she feels like she couldn't protect your dad.
It's not that Wildstar doesn't trust me. She doesn't trust herself.
Guys, I said to write a fun show with fun characters, not compelling characters. That's a real fear I have. Is this one of those shows that's gonna start off out goofy and ends up making me cry?
Our visitors have arrived!
Wait! You're with Ravenzella?
When the opportunity presented itself, I thought, maybe I am a dwarven who's meant for more than cleaning care brushes and picking skyberries.
You see? Fernicus gets it. When you're approached by an incredibly hot evil villain, you just switch sides. The first episode is really meant to establish a lot of things all in one go. The characters, their powers, villains, setting. It's very fast-paced and needs to get it all out very fast. And given that Netflix already has really short seasons, they really blaze through all of the setting up. Sophia's necklace is actually the key that unlocks the seal. Why would the lock be on the inside, and why would you give the key to some kid? I'm surprised she never lost it. Oh my goodness, the voice actor convinced me he was dying. That was spine-chilling. And if you want a spine-chilling good time, then how about you check out this video's sponsor, Totally Spies Cyber Mission. Sam, Clover, and Alex are back again and now are roaming the streets of Singapore. Embark on an action-packed adventure as you explore all the futuristic spots on town. A mysterious menace has emerged to spread chaos and is extending its influence through the streets. You can play on your own or with multiplayer with up to 3 players. And it has local multiplayer. Now that's something I appreciate, like come on. We're all excited to see the return of Totally Spies, and playing this game is a great way to get your friends into the show. And it's on just about every platform, so no one feels left out. And if you get the physical version, you get bonuses. It's a faithful adaptation of the show that will make you feel like you're actually in the show, with in-game collectibles and beautiful environments. Click the link below in order to get your copy today. If life has taught me anything, a really good cry will often fix a lot of problems. Just like how Sophia cried with Wildstar, and now they have super magic rainbow powers. Oh man, she has light magic. Oh, the dark against the light. Wow, guys, very on the nose. Now you see, this is smart. They still made the black characters have lightning powers, you know, like that, the trope that they can never escape. But they made sure to have other black characters without lightning powers so that they can say they're not falling into the stereotype. Why is this a stereotype? With the power of, divine intervention, I guess, dead dad powers, I don't know, she manages to get supercharged starlight powers and overpower evil bad girl. Now she's turning into stone. Wow, well, that's a shame. I was very ready to see where that was going, but that's fine, I guess. I'm not upset. It's not like I wanted to see more of her.
Could I actually be a legendary unicorn rider like my dad one day? Huh?
You will be, Sophia.
Ah, great. Now she's got to deal with auditory hallucinations. Or maybe Wildstar's eyes are just like magic 8 balls. This is a weird detail that's never really touched too much on. Like, how did he do this? How is this happening? I'm no stranger to prophetic dreams. If it's good enough for Rick Riordan, then it's good enough for Unicorn Academy. I appreciate it that they knew when they were making Ancient Unicorn Ruins that it needs to really look like it was made for unicorns instead of looking like it's for humans plastered with unicorn stuff. Large doorways, open halls. Now that's the attention to detail that I need from my fantasy shows. It's the small things that matter. We're now getting into random bad magic happening for unknown reasons. Inklings of things going on that feels like there's some greater force influencing things, but we don't know what it is. Typically, I would think the smart one of the group would be doing a lot of research into history of this island, but of course, they're separated for now. Unicorn Academy is based off a book series written by Julie Skies and Linda Chapman. And this show feels like an aged up version of the books, where they took the story beats as an outline from the books and then just jam-packed that Netflix budget into it. Or actually, they probably jam-packed the Spin Master budget into it because Spin Master is the one that's producing it and secured the rights to the toys. It's also the same company that did Paw Patrol and Bakugan. And Paw Patrol makes up like half of their revenue, so I see why they're really trying to focus on a younger demographic. And well, we all know how they're handling Bakugan, so I see why they're trying to deal with an even younger demographic than Bakugan. So everyone is realizing that Raven's magic is still hovering around doing no bad stuff. They don't explain, or they don't know if it has some sort of direction, or if it's doing bad stuff and it's just like that. My complaint is that they talk about some looming threat that really doesn't feel like a looming threat. The big bad guy was defeated. I figure they would be doing a Sauron approach where they need to prevent the return of the big bad, but instead they want random bad things with no real end goal. So they just start training in order to deal with evil forces, but it's yet to really feel like it's a serious threat. There doesn't feel like there's a real opposition for the main characters to overcome. The random grim magic sprites causing havoc is great for an episodic approach, but TV shows aren't really episodic anymore. You could get away with this sort of setup if you had like 26 episodes per season, not 8 to 10. Now, I'm not crazy yet. I understand the main purpose of a kid's show is to instill positive lessons to help shape the youth. But you know, you can do both. It's honestly not that hard. Our heroes are sick of not knowing how to defend themselves, so it's time to study up. And who doesn't love a magic library, especially a magic library that has a book that's basically just a search engine? That immediately gets corrupted with grim magic, so there's that. And summons evil creatures that start wreaking havoc. Every episode is very much the main characters doing something, and the grim magic interrupting their life in a random way that doesn't really seem to progress the plot. We're now getting into the characters tackling their flaws. Layla, being the one that always relies on research to solve her problems, now has to develop a sudden spark of self-confidence and just jump into action when there's no other option, making her one step closer to being a proper hero and leader. And somehow, an ice dragon's weakness is ice magic? Go figure. I don't think I remember that type of advantage in Pokemon. Wow, that's a little gross. But hey, we're alluding to something happening with the big bad, thank goodness. Rory, the character with the unicorn with storm powers, has apparently done so many pranks that the principal is upset and decides to expel him. We've only seen maybe 3 pranks he's done. Pretending Ravenzella returned is definitely the straw that broke the camel's back. Hey, remember that one person that took away your father and gave everyone some trauma? Wouldn't it be funny if I used that as a prank?
Pains me to do this, but Rory, you are hereby expelled from Unicorn Academy.
What? Expelled?
I don't feel bad for him. Honestly, I hate people like this. What I don't hate is how they're using annoying prank people as a foundation to do the boy who cried wolf story. No one believes Rory when actual trouble is happening, except I lied. That's not actually what's happening. That would have been an awesome, smart thing to do this, but that's not what's happening. The principal followed him and found out their water is infested with grim magic. They had the chance to really use this setup for a great lesson for kids and decided to just not. Here's my question. Are these the only students at the academy? We haven't seen any background characters in like a while. It's always just these 3 teachers and the main cast of characters. If you thought Ivy League was selective, you won't believe how hard it is to get into Unicorn Academy. Behold, the entire class. It's literally one table. I think I know how they cut corners on this show. It just feels weird, so desolate. It's more of just a moderately big family rather than a school. It's awkward. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I haven't read the books. I know, I am terrible. So if you've read the books, tell me about the discrepancies between the show and the books in the comments below. Is the school really this desolate in the books? Are there like other background character students? Or do you just like assume there was because why would you not assume there would be other students at a school?
You think Ravenzella is funny? Maybe you don't take any of this seriously, but I do. My dad sacrificed everything to defeat her. She almost destroyed our unicorns, and you're making jokes about her.
I love it when shows teach girls to speak up for themselves, and I especially love it when boys who don't think about others' feelings get their comeuppance. Great lessons for children. Good job, guys. A lot of people are forgetting to practice empathy and humanity. You know, like about 70% of Americans. Rory redeems himself by straightening up and sucking out the grim magic from the water supply using horrifying and intimidating weather powers that would realistically make him far more powerful than anyone in the main cast. But you know, that's not important. The important part is that he's growing and that's what we're looking for. Also, Ravenzella is being whisked away by the tornado. The real magic is that she landed perfectly upright. And she's free. Oh, thank goodness. I can actually get invested in the show now. Ravenzella is weak and needs to gather her strength. Honestly, I know that villain setup is overdone, but I don't care, I still love it. Sophia's character flaw is actually being a loner. She grew up without any friends because, you know, she's not like other girls, but they're actually leaning into that. She can't really commit to being friends with Ava no matter how hard Ava is trying to be friends with her. And Sophia goes off on her own regularly to solve everything herself when she needs the accompaniment of someone else to make sure she's safe from the literal evil villain magic that's been wreaking havoc on everything, and that includes going out on her own to the vision pool in order to get sucked into the waterfall, in order to go into the spirit realm, and that talks to her dad's ghost or something.
Listen.
No, nothing is more important to me than you are.
Sophia, I'm running out of time.
Dad!
You need to watch out for...
Don't worry, Sophia!
Now you see, if you just talked about this with her, you'd be able to talk to your dad. Obviously, Sophia is upset and blames Ava even though she did nothing. However, if I was in Sophia's shoes, I would also be very upset.
The vision pool grants 1 vision per person, and you ruined it!
Oh my goodness, there's other students! Where did they spawn from? How did this happen? Why are they only here for the party? I'm hoping this is the director pivoting the budget toward the later episodes, and that's why we're suddenly seeing more set dressing, which would be smart. I like it. Remember that heart stone that broke in two? That is now Sophia's and Ava's bracelet? That's a magic relic Ravenzella wants. Obvious setup, but I'm here for it. Somehow, Ravenzella also has Batman's detective mode from the Arkham games. Now, that's some magic that I want. Wildstar is basically like a parent to Sophia. How old is Wildstar? She was her dad's unicorn also. Wildstar must be twice Sophia's age at least. They talk things out angrily, but hey, at least they're talking, which quickly devolves into more shouting and arguing and finger pointing.
This is just how my body processes anger. You've been sneaking around, breaking promises, throwing yourself into danger, and not once have you stopped to think about how that makes me feel. And I'm ready for my apology whenever you're ready.
You think I'm going to apologize?
Oh, you were so close. You'd be surprised how often crying will make things better. No joke, I'm stubborn, and my default at situations is to get angry. And funny enough, my partner's way to deal with anger in difficult situations is also to cry like her. And she hates it. But seeing her cry shifts something in my brain that reminds me that I need to stop fighting her and like start working things out. And there's been other situations where her crying will get really mean people to just stop being mean. People, you need to cry more. If someone sees it as weak, they're a psychopath. Most people will see you crying and it will trigger their empathy, which again, if it doesn't trigger their empathy, chances are they're a psychopath. Convenient timing, Alia and her amazing research finds out that the heart is actually called the Grimstone that can absorb grim magic, and neither of them have it because they threw them away now that their friendship is ruined. And the lackeys are working on finding it, and they found it. There it is, yep.
We meet again, unicorn riders.
A bunch of nothing happens and then Ravenzella runs away.
So, I guess Ravenzella's back.
What sort of Marvel writing BS is that? Did you learn nothing about poking at people's obvious trauma? Listen, bathos, the thing where you cap off an intense moment with a joke that completely breaks the tension, can be funny, but a lot of writers throw it haphazardly in their shows. In this instance, it's a kid's show, and the point is to be entertaining. I get it. I'm just saying, in other situations where this is used, it's usually used poorly. And we need to address this. It usually works really well for comics and comic book stories because comics in general are usually a pretty ridiculous premise. Comics have some of the absolute best stories I've ever read. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that can't also both be true at the same time, but that sort of humor doesn't translate everywhere. That being said, Rory is actually like pretty funny throughout the show. Like he's actually a decently well-written, funny side character. Main character. He is a main character. He is a decently funny main character in this show. I just really needed to talk about this.
Maybe this doesn't matter as much to you, but if I don't stop Ravenzella, then it's like my dad sacrificed himself for nothing.
But risking your life like this will not bring your dad back.
Wow.
I know a lot of people argue that facts don't care about your feelings, but the reverse is true also. Feelings don't care about the facts. Feelings are real, and it leads people to doing things like this. You need to use emotion to battle emotion. You can't just use logic. Following that good old hero's journey, Sophia is now at her lowest point, suffering from her flaws that she refuses to learn from. All the while, Ravenzella summons her own unicorn of edgy cool darkness that can turn people to stone, and Sophia is no match and starts getting stoned. Not like that.
I can't let you.
Oh, she's literally at her lowest point. Wow, Wildstar helps her, almost like you need to team up and accept the help of others in order to overcome your greatest challenges. Slowly, that's all setting in as she accepts that she can't beat Ravenzella on her own. I'm gonna be real, if the teachers couldn't take down Ravenzella, I'd just give up. I may be weak, but I'm not stupid. Wildstar gets smart and brings them back to the vision pool. If Sophia already had her vision, Wildstar hasn't had theirs yet. You know, they also had a connection to her dad. So she gets another shot at talking to her dad. And the whole vision is her dad saying that he can't help her and tells her that he's in this position because he did everything alone and Sophia needs to apologize to her friends. Apologies are made and feelings are mended. Now they can face Ravenzella with the power of togetherness and friendship. And we're just getting rid of the element of surprise because of course we are. Oh, don't forget about her super scary horsey. Now everyone is getting stoned. You see, surprise attack, it works, and her Grimstone is gone. They take it away from her. Somehow the sporty one is holding her own with Spooky Horse. Symbolically mending their friendship, they fix the Grimstone, fix it to Wildstar, and slurp away all that dark magic juice. Spooky Horse is gone. Hot villain woman is angry. The day is saved thanks to my friends are my power. Nobody is stoned anymore. Raven is being taken away, and wow, that was sure a fine ending. Nothing to really write home about, but yeah, it was cute. We delivered on the characters' arcs and tied everything up. The show could definitely use more just to make things more interesting. The show feels pretty surface level, but I argue it's still decently well done.
I think we've got more danger to face. My dad is alive. I talked to him again, but he had to leave suddenly, like he was trying to escape something. I've got to find him wherever he is. He needs me.
Oh yeah, that'll work. I feel like, and I may be horribly wrong about this, so correct me if I'm just ignorant, I feel like there's a gap in cartoons for kids. Like, you have shows for little kids, like toddlers, like Sophia the First and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Easy. And then there's cartoons you find that are for a bit of an older group, around like 10 or 13, and those cartoons often seem to have a direction where they appeal to adults as well as kids, probably because they know that if they can capture both audiences, that they'll make a lot more money on merch sales. A la My Little Pony, like Steven Universe, The Owl House, the Infinity Train are examples. And I love those cartoons, obviously, but that awkward space in between where it's for kids that aren't quite toddlers and aren't quite old enough to understand slightly mature concepts, where it's not trying to cement two audiences, I think that's becoming more rare. This show being an example of addressing that problem. I would even argue the Bakugan reboot also fits into this category, maybe even Craig of the Creek. That show is so good. And this may be an opinion I formed just because I typically watch shows and cartoons that appeal to me, so I could be biased. Honestly, I think I'd be glad if I'm wrong in this situation. Anyway, back to the show. Some kid was just somehow able to find Unicorn Island and manned a dinghy to make it here. Wow. All the while, there's a party for the Fairy Moon, and Sporty One, Isabelle, broke her leg and she cannot attend. And Isabelle blames her horse River for not trusting her and says that River is the reason her leg is broken. You know, this show primarily focuses on conflict between the characters, scuffles that they get into because they're still young and their emotions are really powerful, so every bad thing that happens feels like it's a massive betrayal, which actually shows a solid understanding about how kids react to things. The reason they have temper tantrums is just because they have equally strong emotions but don't really have regulators for them yet. Isabelle meets some new kid named Danny while she's brooding.
You've got something that makes you special, and then it gets taken away. You feel like you don't fit in anymore, right?
This kid either has some cool, troubled past, or he is the villain. And this sleazeball is trying to steal your unicorn. Homewrecker. River is falling for it. That's what these kind of guys look for. Emotionally vulnerable people so they can manipulate them. Another great lesson to teach kids. Man, this villain is already like leagues better than Ravenzella. I will always love the super hot villains trying to take over the world, but Danny, this guy has like actual motive? Like it's a much more personable motive that's a lot easier to relate to. Okay, well, I guess wanting to take over the world is pretty relatable to a lot of kids, because like even I wanted to take over the world when I was a kid. Even at the age of 7, I knew the world leaders weren't doing a very good job and that I could definitely do better. Actually, maybe a 7-year-old could do a better job. That's actually pretty sad.
Isabel, your hair.
Sorry I didn't have time for a goofy updo or something.
Your streak. It's fading. Isabel, your bond. I have to see River.
Oh my goodness, we're going to have so many more kids that want to dye their hair because they're going to associate it with unicorns. Their bond gets completely broken. That's pretty horrifying, actually. A very visual way to show a friendship ending.
But if your rider didn't want you anymore, that's her loss.
This guy gives me the creeps. He's had like 5 minutes of screen time and he's already written very well, which of the writers were hurt by a guy like this to write him this accurately? Layla yells at Isabel, telling her to stop moping and earn back her unicorn. I love how they didn't just abandon her character progression. I love this. And for the convenient story reasons, there's Underwood fairies that can force a bond between a unicorn and a writer. I feel like there's a few ways you can interpret this, and I don't like any of them. You know, forcing a bond between two people, even going so far as to kind of brainwash the victim. Are you guys picking up what I am putting down?
I have as much right to him as any of you do. I was invited to Unicorn Academy, just like you, but the Fate Fairies failed me. I never matched with a unicorn. I was meant to be a unicorn rider, but instead, I was sent home with nothing.
It doesn't take long for them to capture this creep, and Isabel goes straight to working things out with River. And then a massive wave is coming to destroy the island. Okay, not even joking, this happens just out of the blue. After a good apology, River breaks the weird enchantment and rebonds with Isabel. Wow, that was way more deep than I thought it would be. But not as deep as they'll be when that wave swallows them. That really slow wave. Thankfully, River is a water unicorn and manages to evade a whole natural disaster. That seems like... How powerful is this unicorn? Did we just see Unicorn Jesus or Unicorn Moses in action? River may not have parted the Red Sea, but I still feel like this still counts. And Danny just accepts that he sucks, gets a little pep talk from the principal, and he's no longer in the show. I was actually pretty excited for him to be the main villain of the season, but it was still really good. No, apparently the primary story is the birth of a little baby unicorn born from falling stars. I guess magical creatures would be born by magical methods. And because actually giving birth is a little bit much for kids. Listen, I know hooded and masked figures at night isn't technically a bad thing, but hooded and masked figures at night around children? That's always a really bad sign. Sophia asks one of the teachers about the unicorn constellation. Apparently, 5 years ago, her father pursued the power that lies in the unicorn constellation's crown stars. Because Wildstar has light powers, the light from the stars amplifies her powers. And all the teachers are very hush-hush on what the crown stars do. Wildstar isn't super stoked about it, though.
If we want my dad back, this is our only chance, Wildstar.
This is our only chance, Wildstar. It's just you and me.
Hey!
I really appreciate them making sure the unicorns are also characters.
If they get the crown star first, we'll never find my dad. It's like you don't even want to. We're supposed to be a team. Why do you keep fighting me?
So are riders and their unicorns just like never allowed to fight? Breaking the bond happens really quick when there's any disagreement. I don't know how this is really light magic, but Wildstar can send visions to Sophia while she's sleeping, and shows her the fight they had against Ravenzella 5 years ago. What a great time to introduce another new villain, this Crystal Dude. He had those crown stars and used them to banish Grimoria, the kingdom of Ravenzella, away and ever, but also banished himself because of that Crystal Dude getting in the way. They animate the horses a little too well, because watching Wildstar hurting is pretty painful to watch. Whoever this bad guy is, they're insanely good at illusion magic, though I feel like it would have been obvious which is the real crown star in this situation, but whatever, point is, they win and they get the star first. Halfway through the season, we're getting everything we need that really makes this show feel like a proper world. Sophia meeting one of the people who fought with her father, and she's very not approving of her and Wildstar, weirdly enough. And Glacier, Layla's unicorn, also had a previous writer that was nothing like her, and she's really conflicted about how she could be bonded to Glacier if she's nothing like this guy. Now, it's really feeling like a proper show, having more complicated dynamics between multiple characters rather than just one at a time, along with different types of conflict that we haven't explored before. It's a unique way to tackle how people can have multiple friendships with varying personalities.
But how could I be the perfect match for Glacier if she was matched with Sam before?
This old hag, for some reason, believes that Sophia's dad turned his back on his team. Like, does she not know what he did?
And who do you think held the Grimorian forces at bay? We protected the island and each other while he ran off alone on some silly star quest.
A star quest?
Okay, yeah, hate to point out that his star quest saved everyone and he sacrificed himself in order to do it. I feel like you're just a B-word, a bad person. Layla and Glacier made a whole secret lair for them to be able to hide the crown stars, and that doesn't do much if your enemy has a scrying mirror. Oh look, hey, that's her dad. Has he been there for 5 years? It's now a MacGuffin chase for the last 2 crown stars. It feels like the show has really earned its sea legs. Season 1 was very much like a chapter 1 to a novel, but now it feels like we're really getting into the meat of things. I appreciate the approach of starting small and slowly expanding the plot, raising the stakes, and making things bigger over time. It makes it feel like every subsequent season is better than the last. It gives the impression there's a lot of potential for the show. The biggest pushback Sophia gets is actually from Valentina. Now infected with the idea that Sophia is doing this to relive the quote-unquote glory of her father, she's trying to stop her from collecting the crown stars. Valentina has the problem of having extreme expectations from her parents, and it's turning her into a massive jerk, emulating strict nature of her parents since that's what's expected of her. Sometimes you just adopt your parents' mentalities because it just makes life easier at home. It's why I had to become a smartass in order to joke my way through mediating my parents fighting.
If you try to bring your dad back, it could bring Grimoria back too!
Oh, no, wait, she actually has a point. Turns out weird mask person doesn't want to really stop Sophia, given that this person saves her from being crushed by a boulder. They just really want the crown stars for some reason. Oh, don't tell me Principal Primrose is the masked person. That would make a lot of sense.
I need to talk to you about Sophia.
After collecting all 3 stars, Primrose decides that she's actually going to help them because clearly nothing she says will stop them. I don't know, if it brings back Grimoria, seems like a bad idea. They try out the same magic ritual that her dad did and nothing happens. Weirdly enough, the season is actually capped off with a test gone south. When they were supposed to do a simulation to save Valentina's aunt and the entire thing starts collapsing, they really show that they can work as a team. Layla, being the smart one, actually the one is throwing out orders and utilizing everyone else's talents. Now you see, that's how you utilize the smart character trope. And now that they're bonded as a team, they actually unlock new magic horsey powers, like freezing things in time. Wow, that seems incredibly powerful. Yeah, now I'm actually really into the show. It took a couple seasons to really hook me, but we eventually got there. Funny enough, you know the curse of Netflix and how they always cancel a show when it starts getting really good? Well, this show hasn't been greenlit for a 3rd season, but it also hasn't been canceled, technically. So, there's some hope. But we know Netflix's track record, so my hope isn't very high. But I don't think this is entirely in the hands of Netflix, but rather Spin Master. If sales for toys and merch are good, chances are they'll produce another season. I think they're waiting to see how things play out.
You didn't fail. You were lied to by Miss Primrose and me. One of the crown stars you have is fake. Primrose has the real one. I told her you were looking for the crown stars and she figured out how to stop you.
That's why the stars didn't work when you tried to bring your dad back. The real crown star is in Primrose's office, so if you really think they'll work, there might still be a chance to help your dad.
And yeah, that's a good character arc for the bossy mean girl character. I'm surprised how well some of these characters are written.
Miss Primrose, Sophia broke into your office to find the crown star.
Whose side are you on? Crown Star is acquired. Oh my gosh, the Star Snatcher is Miss Primrose. I'm not surprised at all. The principal that can make illusions is also the masked villain that can make illusions. Gasp. And she can put people to sleep. That's also scary. A lot of this magic is scary. We have the classic pulling friends out of a sleep spell dream sequence. Everyone wakes up. Oh, that's why they added Wild Star's dream powers earlier, so that Valentina could save them now. Oh, goodness. And Valentina gave Primrose the fake star. Second verse, hopefully very different from the first. And yeah, Grimoria is back. Sophia does get her dad back.
Sophia, what did you do?
You did so well, Sophia.
We're actually doing like a Sauron villain return thing, and it's actually kind of working. I'm pleasantly surprised. I want to say that I feel like they could have fleshed out this villain a little bit more, but actually, no. I don't think they should have. You see, he had to be kept secret in order for his plan to work. And we're kind of like experiencing more of like what Sophia is experiencing. We knew just enough that we needed to in order for this show to make sense. Given that Ravenzella turned you all to stone with next to no effort, I have very little faith you guys are going to win.
We worked together. This island holds the world's magic, so why shouldn't it be the center of the world's power?
Oh, I'm liking this guy. He's got like a plan? Making use of their new unique powers, they manage to sneak into where they are keeping Sophia's dad and free him. Finally, at long last, we have a real victory. And here we see the biggest flaw with the show. Sophia's dad can't really fight because he doesn't have a unicorn. The writers aren't really all that useful all on their own. He literally has a stick. I actually really hate the ending. Sophia figures out that if Lazul, the crystal guy, is connected to her through her necklace, then maybe she can use that against him and just superheats it, which blows him up. I was really hoping we'd see the villain win so that it would transition into the next season. Now I can say we should have seen more of this villain. Grimoria is still back, however, so there's that. The ending wasn't great, but hey, season 2 was a major improvement to season 1. I think this show has some serious potential. And she gets to keep her necklace? No, wrong, incorrect. Mission accomplished, sure. Father is now reunited with his family, and it's a big happy ending. I can see why they really rushed for Sophia to save her dad. If the show doesn't get greenlit for a third season, that's a pretty satisfying way to end the series. I hope that maybe if we do get more seasons, then maybe we'll have more episodes per season, because these villains really need more screen time and fleshing out. Maybe if we're greenlit several seasons at once, and we just focus on one villain, just one, not a villain per season, just one villain, we will probably get a decently fleshed out villain. I want the villain to actually get close to accomplishing their goal. I haven't really felt any actual tension with the villains. With that being said, I don't have a lot of confidence that Spin Master is gonna greenlight another season of this show because it's Spin Master. Their track record as of late has not really been the best. But if you guys want to see more of the show, then I can only recommend you buy the merch, buy the toys. If you're really that diehard of a fan of Unicorn Academy, that's probably the most direct way to tell Spin Master that you want more seasons. They will not reward you until you reward them. Let me know what you thought of Unicorn Academy in the comments below, and thank you to Totally Spy Cyber Mission for sponsoring this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay beautiful and keep playing.